Yo, what is up? Welcome to the Father Built podcast, where we build up fathers in holiness, healthiness, and happiness, and we aim to give them the tools to build their house of legacy. I am your host, Bobby Peacock. Now, today, today I got a very, very special guest. First, he is the first guest ever on this podcast, but let me tell you about this guy. He is a husband, he is a father, he is a ministry leader, he is an entrepreneur, he is like a spoken word artist, a speaker, and he just got credentialed as a pastor. So everybody, welcome John Setzer.
What's up, everybody?
How
Man,
are you, man?
dude, I'm good, man. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to be on, man. It's we've known each other for a long time,
Yeah,
been working
man.
together,
Yeah.
all the creative stuff, and I'm telling you, man, one thing that I think that you left out of the intro is
Okay.
that I'm a friend,
Yeah.
and I'm blessed to be a friend of yours, man. So
Yeah.
love
Yeah.
you, dude. It's
I love
always
you
good
too.
to connect.
Yeah, and it's awesome to have friends like you in my corner, and so I'm super excited to have you on my podcast. I mean, this has been a dream, and so just to be able to talk with my homies and talk about fatherhood, and so yeah, so I gave that big elaborate intro, but like tell the people like who is John Setzer?
Yeah, I mean, I think just to keep it simple and brief,
Yeah,
I am a follower. I'm a
Yeah.
follower of Jesus Christ, and I think being a follower of Jesus Christ is really what makes me able to be the best father, husband,
Yeah.
friend,
yeah.
teammate, leader, whatever. But being a follower, like that's really who I am, and I want others to know that being a follower of Jesus Christ is what makes me who I am.
Dude, come on. Amen. Hallelujah. Yeah. So here's a question for you. Like, have you always been a Christian or a believer in Christ, or like what's like your like testimony? Like what's your story?
Yeah, I mean, I think when it comes to American standards,
Yeah.
yes, I've always been
Okay.
a believer or a Christian, but in all actuality, no.
Yeah.
I was I was a church baby. I was drugged to church what they call it, a drug baby. I was drugged to church every Sunday, every
Yeah.
week.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember my grandmother, if I missed like 1 or 2 Sundays because of
Yeah.
like sports or something like that, she would send me a card in the mail, and I'm like, Granny, you live in the same neighborhood as me, but she'd put a card in the mail saying, "We missed you this
at church?
Sunday."
Oh no.
And so so my nanny, she would kind of do that. But growing up, I mean, it was more of the routine of the religious walk.
Yeah.
This is the way we go to church, and we're skipping and happy and all, and this is the way we do things. But I really didn't know who Jesus was very early on.
Yeah.
In my life, I knew of him,
Mm-hmm.
and I had some good representations of what a relationship with Jesus really looked like.
Yeah.
But then I had some that wasn't so good.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But then I think it was probably when I was about I remember playing my best high school football game.
Yep.
I had 300 yards all purpose or a little bit more, something like that. I can't remember.
Bro.
But like, a couple touchdowns, couple fumble recoveries, like set state records, all this. And I remember, I'm leaving the field and there's like reporters and they're, asking me questions and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember like after everybody left, I'm standing on the field and I'm getting ready to walk off to go to the locker room. And I started thinking about every way that I could kill myself.
Wow.
Because, the straight A's, the accomplishments, everybody knows me back home, my family, my athletic accomplishments. It was just a shovel full of dirt into the abyss. And I mean, I didn't have that special shape that's in the shape of Jesus Christ that could fill that hole that was in my heart.
Yeah.
And I went home that night and I was thinking about every way I could kill myself.
Yeah.
I didn't want to shoot myself because I'm like, well, if I do that, then my parents are going to have to find me in that way, and I didn't want to do that. I'm like, well, I could do pills, and it would just look like that I just died in my sleep or something. But then, they're gonna do an autopsy and all that, and they're gonna figure out that I killed myself, and and then I was just a coward all over again. I mean, I couldn't even kill myself. I couldn't accomplish this. I couldn't accomplish that in that hole, and it just got deeper and deeper. Yeah. And I just remember, I'm like, God, if you're real, now is
the time to show up.
The time to show up, and this is my last day. Yeah. And I call it my last day for a reason, because like that day really shaped the trajectory of the rest of my life.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I remember sitting on my bed that night, and I looked up, and I don't know if I was in and out of sleep or whatever, but it was like I looked up and I seen this small, like, tiny light, and it felt like it just pushed all this, like it got bigger and just pushed all this darkness out of my life, out of my room, like that kind of stuff. Yeah. And so I moved forward from that moment, and I'm like, okay, like I think I just gave my life to Jesus, like for real. Yeah. And my life was horrible. It was terrible, dude.
Oh man.
Like, the pornography addiction was like full force now. Trying to fit in, like all this, but I had a foundation of hope now. I had something that I could actually stand on.
Yeah, come on.
And so it was crazy. It was like things were getting worse.
Yep.
But I was like building a foundation, so they're kind of getting better.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, thank you so much for sharing that. Obviously this podcast is about, fatherhood and, your husband and your father. How many kids you got, man?
Dude,
like 7?
Oh my goodness! So we actually have 5 kids.
5, yeah.
And Bobby knows all of my kids. Yeah, and he wrestles and plays with them and all that stuff. But yeah, man. So we have 5 kids. Leslie, our oldest daughter. She's 15 and has bright future in basketball. Finally starting to get some D1 phone calls.
Come on
stuff.
Now.
So we're excited about that.
Yeah.
And John the second, he's my baseball player. And he's showing a bright future in baseball too. And so, man, and then Princeton is my actor.
Okay.
So Princeton loves acting.
I can see that.
And he's highly intellectual, and he could really care less about sports or anything that requires physical
like doing.
And then Katura Ray, that is my she's not my favorite. I didn't say that. I didn't say that at all. My wife says that she's my favorite, but she has a special place
in your heart,
in my heart. Okay, she was our rainbow baby. Like we actually lost a child.
Oh man,
right before her.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
So I was actually working at Collision at the time.
Okay,
and so anyway, so she was our rainbow baby. So it was kind of like that. She has that special place. Yeah. And then we have Matea. Yeah. Who is 5 going on 30.
Oh,
so it just
Miss
depends.
Independent.
It depends the day. And so, man, that's our crew. And then my wife Marcy, the love of my life. Been in love with her since the first time I met her when we were like 14. So
dude, I just remember like going to your house and. Your wife would do my hair, and then you would give me haircuts, and then just watching like all your kids just like running around and doing this and doing that and giving me high fives and stuff. Man, such a good time. But we talked before you jumping on this podcast, and something that you felt that the Lord was putting on your heart was to talk about like masculinity. Yeah, and so like. In your words, like what would be like your definition of like masculinity?
Yeah, for the longest, I thought that masculinity was, what our grandparents did. Yeah. Or our uncles, or, the tough guy, lifting weights and, talking in a colorful way.
Okay.
If you know what I mean.
Yeah, for sure.
The womanizing, and you know, and just this pride and arrogance that came along with that. But the more that I really start to realize what masculinity, true masculinity, Christian masculinity,
yeah, for sure,
was in my definition was that, you know, the example of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
You know, Jesus was a man's man. Like, you know, he worked with his hands.
Carpenter.
You know, he was a carpenter.
Yeah.
So you know he had muscles.
Okay. Yeah.
You
for
know?
sure. Yeah.
You know?
Oh yeah. Jesus was
I'm drawing
jacked,
my own
bro.
picture of hey, you let your Jesus look like what you want your Jesus to look like. My Jesus looks like what my Jesus looks like.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But you know, but I mean, he was a carpenter,
Yeah.
and you know, just to see the way that he seen people.
Yeah.
And he served people.
Yeah.
And it wasn't always about his agenda and what he wanted to do, but it was about him being about his Father's business. So I feel like a man's man in true masculinity is us realizing what the big picture is.
Yep.
And finding our purpose as well as our assignment. And walking in it boldly.
So explain that. Break that down for me. Like finding your purpose, and then what was the second part? Finding
your assignment.
And your assignment. So break down the purpose part for me.
Yeah. So your purpose is like, I'll use you for example.
Yeah.
If that's okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And if I'm wrong, you shoot me down.
Hit
but
me.
Your purpose, I feel like is to be a creative.
Yep.
That brings people to Jesus Christ.
Yep.
Through your creative abilities, but also pulling the creative energies out of other people and putting them in a form that people can digest, right?
Yeah.
So, but your assignment could be, in this season, I work at Collision.
Yep.
Or in this season, I work for this church. Or this season, I do spoken word videos and stuff with John. Right? You know, so it's like, so God gives us our purpose, and that purpose, I feel like, never changes.
Yeah.
But he also puts us on different assignments within that purpose.
Yeah. So it's kind of like where you're like, to put this in more layman's terms, is like the purpose is like a foundational thing like that may necessarily never change, you know, versus your assignment is gonna ebb and flow kind of thing, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Dude, that's so good.
Because because like, you know, the beauty of the creation and how God did everything is that, you know, we have night and days. So there's always a start and an end, start and an end. And then we also have seasons, right?
Yep.
You know, and you know, me and you, and we'll kind of get to this a little bit later, I think so. But just like, you know, the season of us losing our dads. You know, and it's like crazy, like, because even for me, it's like such a huge part of my identity. Was you know, is because he's still alive, but is you know, he's still alive, but is my dad.
Yeah.
And you know, so we have these seasons to where God gives us these different assignments. And for me, my biggest struggle, man, and we're talking about manhood, masculinity, and all this is like knowing what to say yes to and when to say no to different things, and knowing, okay, John, this is your assignment. That falls within your purpose.
Yeah. So like, how do you know? Like, what is your filter for saying? I mean, because you know how it is in ministry, right? Where it's like, man, like everything is like, it seems like you have to say yes to because it's like the God thing to do, right?
Right.
So how do you distinguish of like, hey, this needs my yes versus this needs my no? Like, what is your filter for that?
Right. You know, I think my filter for it, of course, you know, is the direction of the Holy Spirit. I call it following the peace trail.
Yeah, come on.
So, like, I mean, it can literally be a hurricane going on in your life, but in the center of that hurricane, like, it's quiet. It's peaceful. Right. And so, like, that inner peace and being in God's word, because we'll know what God's word sounds like. And it doesn't mean that he's not asking you to walk into that burning building and go rescue people. But you'll have this peace on the inside of you that's like, man, I'm like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Like, I'm going to walk in this building, but I'm not even going to smell like smoke when I come out. And that knowing is what helps me with making those decisions, because, you know, there's good opportunities. And then there's God opportunities. And there's a huge difference between those. You know, I heard a guy say this years ago. He said, good is the enemy when God has called you to great.
Oh, man, that's good.
Like, good is literally a sin when God has called you to great. And, you know, I remember me and you talking one time, and And I think I was wanting you or needing you to do something for me.
Mm-hmm.
And you was like, John, like right now, like these are my boundaries of things that I have to get accomplished for me.
Yeah.
And I can't help you out with that right now. But
Yeah.
you my boy.
Yeah.
I love you, dude,
Yeah.
but I can't help you out.
Yeah.
And I think I actually learned a lot from you in that moment because, you know, like for me, I love people and I can be a yes man. And so there's so many times when I've put myself on different people's assignments or put myself in places where I probably shouldn't have been.
Yeah.
Doing somebody else's assignment.
Yeah.
Because I lost sight of my purpose, which was the big picture.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah. I've always said it's like I rather do the God thing instead of the good thing, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Because
that's
it's
good.
like I think it comes back to like you said, the calling and purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like at the end of the day, everything comes back to purpose. And so with that, like how do you manage, like, I mean, because like, man, you got, like, for me, I'm a father of one, right? And I love my son, and you know, like I have him 50% of the time, and like when I have him, I try to be 100% invested. But like you have 5 kids plus a wife, you know, or I should say a wife plus 5 kids, because I believe
she comes first.
Yeah,
yeah.
Number
I'm
one
with you, bro.
Yeah, I'm like your number one ministry. Your number one ministry is your ministry to the Lord. Your number 2, if you're married, is your wife, then your kids, then everything else. And so like how do you, because like when I think about like masculinity, I think about like, oh, we have to go out and get the bread, like we have to go out and provide. And so like how do you manage that while being a husband and a father?
Prayer. No, I'm joking.
One thing. Well, I mean, it does. It starts. At the end of the day, it does start at your foundation, which is prayer. But like, let's talk a little bit like more like practical, I guess.
Yeah. So I threw prayer at that because I wanted to give you my Christian
your Christianese
my Christianese answer. But to be honest, man, you know, I think I would say that it is learning and growing and maturing and just trying to be in a place of humility daily because there's many days that I miss it.
Yeah.
Ooh. You know, there's been times when my wife is like, baby, did you pick up Tater? And I'm like, I am on my way to get her right now from daycare. And, you know, and so it's like you have those different things, but you know, and I'm telling you, dude, like my wife, she is an absolute rock star.
Come on, brag on her.
Because she, you know, she's beautiful inside and out. You know, I call her the smoke show.
Yeah, okay.
She's the smoke show.
Yeah, come on now.
You know, so I mean, I really married up in every single way.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, she is an operations person for our family. So she gives me the ability to be a visionary and to dream and you know, to go and speak here and to go and teach here or to go work with kids here or to have this business here, this business there.
Yeah.
But she's like, okay, how can I be your back end support to make sure that these things happen?
Yeah.
And so she helps me out a lot with like scheduling and you know, that kind of stuff. And I remember years ago, the Lord's like, John, like you're going to be hindered and you're going to be limited on what you can do if you don't become a master of your schedule and a master of your calendar.
Yeah.
And I mean, you know, when you're kind of like, you know, a creative and, you know, we move and we got different things we do and we have this idea and that idea, sometimes it's really hard to be locked in on that schedule.
Yeah.
But we also want that schedule to be in a way to where we create space for God.
Yeah.
To move.
Good. That's good.
Because I've been on the other side of it to where I was so detailed where it's like, okay, all right, Bobby, we got 5 minutes to talk. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
You know, okay. All right, bro.
That's it.
4 minutes and 59 seconds. Like, I love you, dude. I gotta go. I'm on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like that there's a whole lot of. I'm not gonna say that attitude or mindset is not honoring.
Yeah.
Because I do know that like putting value on your time is.
Yeah, for sure.
And putting value on your schedule is, you know, prioritizing things. But I also feel like that if we aren't ready in and out of season to minister to people,
Yeah.
to love on people,
Yeah.
to have those God moments where you go, man, let me call my boy John real quick.
Yeah.
Man, let me call my boy Bobby real quick.
Yeah.
Now, let me hit up Jeremy real quick. Let me just see what's going on in their world and follow in the direction of the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you hit on something like, with the calendar and the schedule thing is at the end of the day, like in my last podcast, I talked about time, and that's what it comes down to is like, that is the number one currency that we cannot get back.
Right.
And so it's like how we manage our time, like, will show fruit someday. And so to have a wife to come alongside you and help you out with that is amazing.
It's tremendous, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is. God's, in God's design, he says when a man finds a wife, he finds a good thing.
Yeah.
And he, and so many times, like, I think there's times when people, they think that it says when a man finds a woman or when a man finds a girl or a girlfriend, he finds a good thing. And it's a huge difference.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I remember praying Proverbs 31 over my wife before she even came. I just remember like, man, I want a Proverbs 31 woman.
Yeah.
Like, Lord, this is what I want.
Yeah.
And then I gave the Lord all my other specifications and what I wanted. And he kind of laughed at those.
Yeah.
Didn't give me those.
So like, let's, he's all like, hey, you want this, but you need.
There we go. Yeah.
But you need this.
Facts.
Yeah. So like, can you break that down for me? Like, cause like the difference between finding like a woman versus finding a wife.
Yeah.
Because like, I think like, even like when we're talking about like, just to bring back masculinity in this, like when we're talking about masculinity, like sometimes like, I mean, have you ever heard of like red pill, like the red pill content? It's
no.
Okay. So it's like these guys that are out there that are talking about like the world standard of masculinity.
Okay.
And so they call it like the red pill content, and basically what that is it's this negative aspect of masculinity where it's just all like, all right, you know what, I'm gonna get all the women that I can get, I'm gonna get all the money I can get, and it's gonna be me and my homies, and it's like kind of like a less respect for like women, for like, it's just a different value system. So they call it red pill content.
Sounds kind of degrading.
Yeah, it's very degrading. Yeah. And it's become a lot more popular over the past, like, I would say like 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're out here and we're talking about masculinity, and you're out here, instead of like, you're saying, okay, you don't want to just find like a girl to have on your side or a woman, but you want to like find a wife. So like, can you break that down? Like, what's that mean?
So, I mean, I kind of look at it like this. All right, let's say that you have an opportunity to have. Okay, let's say you're going to eat food. Right?
Yep.
You're going to eat food.
Yep.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So you got an opportunity to go to McDonald's right here.
Yep.
But if you wait 1 hour, I'm going to take you to
Maury's Steakhouse.
Maury's. I'm gonna take you to Maury's
Steakhouse. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, but you're starving.
Yeah.
You're really, really hungry.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, you're famished right now.
Mm-hmm.
Which choice are you going to make?
I know what I would do, but I know, like, for me, I'm going to wait.
Okay, so you're going to wait, okay?
For the steak,
But most people go, I'm so hungry right now, and I got to feel this need that's on the inside of me right now in this moment, and they don't understand delayed gratification, so they end up finding a girl or a woman.
Yep.
And they try to get that hunger satisfied. Oh, well, I don't want to be alone. Well, I want to have sex.
Yeah.
Well, I want companionship. I want this. I want that. But in the waiting period between you going from McDonald's and you're waiting on Minerva's, what happens is there's a maturity, there's a growth, there's a development, so that when you get to Minerva's or you cross paths with this wife, you're ready.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I believe in like the laws of attraction. Mm-hmm. I believe in you are who you hang around.
Yeah.
You are, the sum total of the content that you constantly digest.
Yeah.
So that's why I don't listen to a lot of, worldly hip hop and that kind of stuff. Now I'm a lyricist, so sometimes, I'm like,
you gotta have your ghetto moment.
I gotta go check out J. Cole. You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of deal. But for the most part, I don't just sit and meditate on that music all day long because I know that I got to keep my heart content pure.
Yeah.
And so when it comes to a girlfriend or a girl and a wife, like, my daughter, she's asked me about this multiple times. She's like, so when can I start dating? And I'm like, well, just remember, Dad keeps his guns clean.
Yep.
And
Uncle Bobby keeps his
guns clean.
Ain't afraid to go to prison.
And we can get and I can get to him really quickly. Matter of fact, I keep it on me all the time. Anyway, sorry, tangent. But I tell her, Leslie, it is about you becoming a wife.
Yep.
Becoming the person that God has called you to be, because when you become that person, you're going to attract the right people and you're going to repel the wrong people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so she's like, but Dad, sometimes I feel like I don't even get invited to parties. I'm like,
good.
That's good.
Low-key,
because that
good.
means you have a standard.
Yeah.
That people go, she's not going to be drinking, smoking, partying, sex, and like she's kind of locked in on life. Yeah, we don't want her to come to the party, And so, girlfriend and wife, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There's a big difference between those two.
Yeah.
And I feel like that when you find this wife, women, I feel like a wife is an incubator.
Yeah.
She will literally take whatever that vision is or that thing that you have.
Yeah.
And she will birth that thing and make it so much bigger than you ever could have even imagined on your own.
Yeah.
And that's what Marcy has done for me and for our family. Yeah. When you find a wife, like, she is going to help you and you are going to help her, and you guys are going to build an empire, a kingdom home together.
Yeah, that's good.
And I don't think there's any greater accomplishment than building a kingdom home.
Yeah, that's so good. Oh, man. Speaking of building a kingdom home, like, how do you, because you have two boys, like, how do you teach them, like, that line between, like, masculinity and, like, even, like, navigating emotions and all that. So, like, what are things that you do to teach your boys about that?
Yeah, I think one of the, this wasn't a proud dad moment for me at all.
Yeah.
But I think there was a time whenever my boys would cry and I'm like, man up.
Yeah.
And I would just tap them on the chest like, bro, man up.
Where does that come from?
Toxic masculinity to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then I got to the point to where, my wife, she checked me on a couple times. That's why you need your good wife. And she's like, well, baby, maybe you can, like, right now, they need to experience their emotions, because your emotions are a bit of a thermometer.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
When a kid shows you certain emotion, or if your wife shows you a certain emotion, it lets you know the temperature of where they are, And so for my boys, man, I just remember, like, come on, man up, like, come on, let's go, let's work out, let's do this, let's do that.
Yeah.
And then when my wife told me that, and I really got humbled in that moment.
Yeah.
Because I thought that was masculinity, because that's what my granddad did for me. That's what my dad did to me.
Yeah.
You got to be the lion of your home. You got to be bold. You got to be the leader, courageous, those kind of things. But I think the greatest leader in our homes really is like that servant leadership, like being a servant.
Yeah.
And so I sat down with my boys. I hugged my boys. I talked to my boys.
Yep.
Hey, man, you cry? It's okay.
Yeah.
But what are you crying about?
Yeah.
Yep. Like talk to me.
Yep.
Walk me through. You can't just start crying and walk off and run away or go slam the door or go in your room and whatever and not explain to me and talk to me and tell me what is actually going on. Yep. I want to know what's going on in your mind. And that was the game changer when it came to, like, raising men, because we're not raising boys.
Yeah.
We're raising men. We're raising the next generation. And one thing that irks me more than anything in the entire world is seeing men that aren't standing up and being men.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Yep.
I mean, I actually, I don't even know if I told you this, but I actually have a book that I'm working on right now.
Oh, you heard that here first, y'all.
Oh yeah, y'all hearing that first. But it's called, the name of the book is called The Lion's Pride.
Yeah, yeah.
And this book is really about manhood. Yeah. It is about, this lion, and he has this pride, this lion, he falls in love with this beautiful lioness, they get together, they mate, they have this pride. Yep. And now for them to survive, they have to figure out how to work together. He has to figure out how to lead. Yeah. And those kind of things. And that's kind of what, in a nutshell, that's kind of what the book is about. But I just got so I was grieved almost seeing the state of like in the African American community. Yeah. There's so many times when we've seen the father not there. Yep. And I don't mean not there as in just not present in the home, but I mean like not there. Yep. Physically, emotionally. Yep.
And spiritually.
And spiritually, right? Growing up in the Black community, I mean, like what I grew up in, man, it was like the woman or the wife. Yep. Was kind of always the spiritual leader. Like everybody has that praying grandmother. Yep. Mm-hmm. That was like the spiritual leader of the family. Yeah. But it's like, where did the men go? Because God I don't think God designed it that way, because when Eve and Adam was in the garden, right? And Eve was deceived. Yeah. Adam wasn't. Yep. Adam sat in the bushes and watched his wife talking to the serpent and watched his wife make this decision to eat the fruit. Yeah. And he didn't exercise his God-given authority in that moment. And so like I feel like, man, we have to call other men to that standard. Yeah. That's the standard.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's you think about like specifically like, like those who are listening to this podcast, I mean, both John and I are, I mean, we Black, unashamedly, right, right. And it's sad to see the culture, because I even think about like, like my biological father, and he just to be real and transparent, like I loved him, but he did not leave the best legacy, because he wasn't always there. He was playing around in the streets, and then you get into like generational curses too, that got passed down to, some of his kids that are still in that environment, and so like with that, like how, like, I mean, even like dealing with emotions and stuff, like, I mean, because you had that moment with your wife, and so like how do you, like, so you teach your kids, and you said that like the thing that you hate is like seeing masculinity done poorly, right? Right. So like what are some examples of masculinity done poorly, like out in the world standards?
Good one. So I used to be a teacher at Roosevelt High School. Okay. Yep. Some of y'all probably didn't know that. Like I've taught at some high schools. I used to be a teacher. I told the Lord I would never be a teacher or a pastor. And
look what he did.
Thanks God. Yeah. You the man. Yeah. So, like I would see certain kids walk down the hall with their pants sagging like all the way down, and they knew when they heard my voice. Boy. They wouldn't even turn around. They would just pull their pants up.
You better.
And it's like, where did that become popular or a sign of masculinity? Yeah. You don't see our girls walking down the hall sagging their pants. No. Not unless it was like back in the days with a Leah and
yeah.
Leah kind of had her own swag.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But that was like masculinity. Or you see these boys, and they got the hoochie daddy shorts on, and with
What'd you call him again?
Hoochie daddy shorts.
Hoochie daddy.
You know, and they're trying to show the legs, and they got, no shirt on, out and they're running around, that kind of stuff. And I'm like, okay, I get it. You're working out, comfort, whatever, do what you do.
Yeah.
But I think like the way that we dress, can positively show masculinity, but it can also negatively show masculinity, which is the same exact way when it comes to the feminine side. Vice versa. Some women wear the super sheer skin tight tights and with everything hanging out and all revealing and that kind of stuff, and that's like, well, this is womanhood. And it's like, so that's a topic for another day.
Yeah.
But so that another one would be when you see I used to be the dad at the baseball games, yelling to the top of my lungs, "Hit the ball! Come on, John! What are you doing, dude? Find the strike zone. Let's go! Come on, Leslie! Block her shot!" I mean, just and that crazy, just wild, loud, like over the top. I was that guy. Yeah. And then I got humbled.
Yeah. How did you get humbled?
Oh,
if you don't mind me asking.
Oh, so it's funny. So I had so one of my daughter's friends came to school and was like, "Oh my God, my parents said your dad is so obnoxious at the games."
Oh.
And so, of course, my prideful side was like,
"I'm gonna get him."
No, I was gonna go to the next game and I was gonna have a whole. So I had like, dude, this is crazy because I post this thing on Facebook in my like immature moment. And I had like 100 people that was like, "Come on, hey, we want to go to the game with you so we can be extra loud." And I was like, I'm drawing attention to myself right now. This is taking attention off of her and her teammates and her being able to do her thing. I'm going to sit at the top. I'm going to shut up. Wow. I'm just going to watch the game.
Okay, I got a question for you because like my son is 6, and like I remember I was on the phone with you and I was telling you that my son he played flag football and now he's in soccer, and when he was in flag football you asked, he's like, and I told you that he scored a touchdown. And you asked, like, "Did you run down the field?" I was like, "I almost did, man. I almost ran down that field with him." So, like, I mean, because, like, for me, I mean, like, my son is 6, and, like, I look at it as I might have a different perspective, but you've been in the game a lot longer than me when it comes to your kids in sports. But, like, the sheep know the shepherd's voice, right? Mm-hmm. And so
that's good, bro.
And so, like, for me, like, no offense to my son's coaches, he's only 6 too, okay? And he's playing soccer, and our team is not very good.
Oh, we've been on plenty of those, dude.
And so, like, for me, it's just like, okay, I'm the kind of parent where I want to steward, like, my son's ability well. Like, he has a love for soccer, like that, that I'm just like, okay, I need to be able to steward this well. And so for me, I'm not just looking at like soccer now, but I'm looking at soccer when he's
big picture.
Mm-hmm. And so, like, how do you manage that, like being that parent on the sideline and then also like trying to encourage your kids and trying to grow with your kids? Because at the end of the day, they may listen to you over the coach, or they know your voice over anybody else's voice. Right. So, like, how do you manage that?
Man, that's a good one. So what I've learned to do is I have certain key phrases that I say to my kids.
Yeah.
And they know exactly what I'm talking about because I train my kids. I own Setzer Elite Speed and Agility,
which we'll get into.
So I train my kids. So like for Leslie, if her feet are too tight when she's shooting free throws, she has no balance. I'm like, base out, base out.
Yeah.
And I'll just say base out, like really loud, and and I'll see her go, and she'll base out.
Dude,
she'll take
dope.
And then she'll shoot.
Yeah.
Or like John. I'm like routine.
Yep.
Routine.
Yep.
So he knows routine play.
Yep.
Get my glove down. I'm moving my feet. I got my glove down.
Yeah.
Nice, easy throw.
Yep.
Or if he's, if he's having, a moment to where he's not hitting well at the plate.
Yep.
His coaches, they've done this really cool thing to where he has a card in his back pocket of his best at bat. You know, we were in like Kansas City and he hit a home run over the fence, oppo, right?
Yep.
And so he'll stop, put his hand up, he'll step out. I'm like, read your card. He'll look at his card.
Yep.
Put it in his pocket.
Yep.
Like that. He'll look at his coach.
Okay.
All right, let's go. And he steps back in and he hits the ball.
Yeah.
And so, you know, like you said, dude, that's so good. Like my sheep, they hear my voice and the voice of a stranger when I follow. Yeah. And so I think being loud and proud is extremely beneficial for your kid. But being loud and condemning is horrible.
That's good. Yeah.
So it's that tonality.
Yeah.
What am I saying when I'm being loud and proud?
Yep.
Or am I overcoaching my kid in the moment?
Yeah.
Because that's just as detrimental because they're thinking.
Yep.
And they're trying to figure out like,
you
know, what am I? Okay, so should I do? Oh, is my elbow in? Am I doing this? Am I doing it? You know, and they can't just play.
Yeah.
You know, and then I don't want to be the guy to where my kid is listening more to me than they're listening to their coach. Because there is that respect and that authority. And when they go play college ball and they go play pro ball, they're not going to be looking up in the stands going, okay, Dad, what do I do right here?
Yeah. Yeah, that's so good. And I think about like, because I look at like coaching too, like especially for parents on the sideline and stuff, I look at that as like kind of like correction in public. Like we've all been there, right? Where you're in a Walmart, you're in a Target, or like a Hy-Vee or something like that, and you see a parent scolding their kid. And
I got a black mom. You got a black mama too.
I mean,
you're adopted, so you have two. You have two black parents and two white parents. You're like,
I very much grew up in white culture, but you know, I've been scolded in public. But like, I think like for me, like how I look at it is like anytime, and this kind of goes back to the like emotions thing of like me jumping down my kid's throat in public. And condemning them in public for everybody to see is probably not the healthiest thing to do. But me getting on my son's level, being calm, peaceful, and just saying, yo, like, you need to get your act together. And we're going to talk about this when we get home.
There you go.
And so I think of like for that, like, how do we take that in coaching? Well, like for us as parents, it's so easy for us to get excited about the game, you know, because we're seeing our kids doing something. And so it's like, how can we be encouraging? How can we navigate? Okay, like I want to be an encouraging parent. I don't want to overcoach. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. And then like when my son gets in the car, like, I mean, my son's only 6, but every time he gets in the car, I tell him, hey, this is what you did well. And then, hey, here's a couple things that we need to work on.
Right.
I don't do that in the moment, but I do that in the car. And so,
yeah. And I think, you know, the coaching in the moment is, and when I say in the moment, I don't mean like while they're in the game. Maybe it's between games, or maybe it's on the walk to the car or whatever. Yeah. But like that coaching in the moment is what the Holy Spirit does for us.
Come on now.
You know, because he leads us and he guides us, you know, and I think that is the beauty of us as fathers and as men. We get to shepherd our flock and we get to lead them and guide them and, you know, and well, hold on. Don't do that. Or, do that, you know, or slower right there. Speed up right there, you know, so, and, you know, and it's really to benefit them in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think sometimes in that we allow our fear, because I've allowed my fear of my kids not getting the opportunities that I had to work my face off to get. You know, like I was always overlooked. I mean, I was told I was leading the state in interceptions, and I literally had no big D1 offers or anything like that. And so it was like I felt like I was always looked over, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, for my kids, I'm going to put them in a position to where they're going to be able to write their own ticket.
Yeah.
And I think that making the small minor tweaks, because that's the way a plane flies, right? It's just small, minor tweaks. And once you get them kind of locked in to where they have a foundation of who they are as a person. Are they a hard worker? Are they coachable? those are two main things.
Yeah, yeah.
Do they work hard or are they coachable?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we can build skills on top of that. And then it's just a constant, I'm just guiding them to get them where they need to go.
Yeah. Well, let's shift the focus a little bit. Obviously, we kind of mentioned this earlier, but me and you, we've kind of gone through a different but similar situation with our dad. And like just be real raw with death, and grief is such a powerful emotion.
Oh yeah.
And so like can you walk me through how you because I want this to be for the fathers who are either dealing with grief or dealing with a lost loved one, and so how whatever you're comfortable with sharing, how did that impact your life?
Yeah. I definitely feel like that, the emotion of grief, like you said, is, it almost feels like a roller coaster, to be honest. There's days when you're so low you feel like you can't even get out of bed.
Yep.
And then there's days when you just kind of become numb.
Yeah.
And you just coast.
Yeah.
And you do what you need to do, and you pick up your kids and you drop them off, and you love your wife and you go to work, and and then there's days when you're like, man, my dad is in a much better place. I'm here right now. I've come to a place to where I can accept this. But for me, man, I feel like it took me 3 years to get to that point. And it got so bad to the point to where I just literally couldn't stop this grief spiral just going down. And I needed help to get out of it. So I actually started seeing a therapist. I don't even know if I told you that.
No.
But yeah, dude, started seeing a therapist, and it has been life-changing.
Yeah.
I meet with my guy weekly.
Yeah.
And it's been so good because he's helped me to really process the good, the bad, things that I didn't understand about my dad, or things that I wanted to understand more about my dad. And my dad, he was great. He was in the home.
Okay, yeah, I was just going to ask that.
And then him and my mom divorced, but he was still
present,
very present.
Yeah,
at every game, bought all of our stuff. I mean, just he was present.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude. I mean, that was hard. And then at the same time, one of my best friends in the world, Charlie, had he just disappeared.
Yeah.
And just stopped talking to me, stopped talking to anybody. Nobody's heard from him, nobody's talked to him. And his kids and my kids were literally
best
born
friends
at the same time, because we played pro football together. So, all of our kids were the same exact age.
Yeah.
And it was just my kids are well, where's Caleb? Where's Chloe?
So you weren't just grieving the loss of your father, but you were also grieving the loss of a friend, and walking your kids through that grief of losing friends and
fatherhood. Dude, and I think now that you say that, I think one of the hardest parts of that whole process is how do you tell your kids Pawpaw is not here anymore?
Yeah.
And I know it's maybe a little bit different for you because I don't know if Bo
never had a relationship with him. No.
But for him and your parents, I'll say your real parents, which are the ones who raised you, it will be like that for him. It'll be
for sure
tough, and just trying to explain that and navigate it. But I didn't shy away from it, and I went to the Word.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, guys, death is a part of life, but Papa Larry, he's in heaven right now.
Yeah.
He's with Jesus. He's with Granddaddy.
Yeah.
So he's up there. He's having fun. He's riding dirt bikes, and he's eating good food. And Dad, is there a theme park up there? You betcha. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sorry for my people that are deep in the theological stuff.
I mean,
about the theme park, but there might be a theme park in heaven.
You never know.
We don't know.
You don't know. Yeah. So like, yeah, how old was your father?
So my dad was 56.
Okay, so
young guy.
My dad was 55.
Wow,
Was
that's
it
crazy.
Heart attack?
So they said it was a COVID related heart attack.
Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm.
And that's at the time when
COVID was pretty big.
if your fingernail fell off, it was COVID did
related.
Yeah, COVID.
Yeah, and like that just brings another topic of just like health, man.
Yes.
Like even because my dad was 55 and I think the hardest thing for me is like I had to go pick up one of his vehicles. Like he was like into old school cars, and the dude was like, "Yeah, I think your dad knew he was gonna die." And I'm like, "Wait, what?" He's like, "Yeah, he's trying to fix this car up as fast as he can, because I think he knew that he was gonna die." And I was like, "Man." And he's like, "I don't think he knew it was gonna be this soon," and so like for me, it's just like, man, that's the importance of health, and you have an opportunity where with your business that you're teaching. I mean, like, what is this new entrepreneur venture that you're on, man?
So, so for the ones that don't know me, I have a background in, professional athletics. I played, college football at Winston-Salem State, spent a little bit of time in CFL in Canada, and finished out my football career playing in the.
I didn't know about Canada.
Yeah.
Dang.
So, and then finished out my, career playing in the indoor football league.
Yeah.
And which is what brought me to Sioux Falls, South Dakota.
Yeah.
And yeah, man. So I just always, I have a huge heart for kids, and I feel like that my heart for the youth is starting to beat even more now. And I love kids. I love youth. I love the training. I love the development. I love seeing them grow and be able to do things that they didn't think that they could do and accomplish, different levels. But with my program, like, everything is built on the foundation of a relationship with Jesus.
Yeah.
And so anybody that knows me, anybody whose kids that I train, I get permission from them. I'm like, hey, can I pray with your kid?
Yeah.
Can I talk with them about, biblical principles? Because any leadership book that you've ever read is just full of proverbs and biblical principles.
Oh, 100%.
Like those principles are universal, and you'll see them in, everywhere. And so with my business, I not only train the physical body, but I train the mind. So, I've been doing life coaching for a while. So like through my business, I do, life coaching with that as well. And then also, the soul. That's the most important part. If I have a kid that comes in and they don't at least have an opportunity to know who Jesus Christ is, why do I even have this business?
Yeah, absolutely. That's so good. And so you're teaching these kids,
mobility, flexibility, because all those things are extremely important, eating right, drinking enough water, So,
wow. And how long have you been doing that?
So, I've been doing it probably for, 10 or 12 years.
Yeah.
But, I was talking with a buddy, and he's like, you really need to
get paid for this,
monetize this thing.
Yeah.
And I know you love people and you just want to, kind of
serve
and do it for free. He's like, but God does call us a stewardship and all that kind of stuff. He's like, man, you should monetize this thing. Just put a fleece out there and see what happens.
Yeah.
And so I made a little post, put a fleece out there or whatever, and literally had 7 or 8 kids sign up in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh, okay, well there is, there's a need for this, or people see me in that, in a light.
Yeah, that's good, because I like what you said, because you're not just teaching these kids about physical health.
Right.
But you're also tackling a little bit of mental health, but not only that, but the most important, which is spiritual health.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's so good, man. Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to say, man?
I mean, dude, I just want all the men or women, 'cause I'm sure there's women that are going to watch this too.
Yeah.
I just want you to know that, for our women, it is so life-giving when you guys encourage us. It's so life-giving whenever you say,
facts,
you are a mighty man of valor. Even if your husband is a dork and he is just not hitting the mark. When you speak to him, ladies, your voice has value. When you call them up to that next level, because that's what the Bible says to, calling those things that be not as though they were, right? And speaking life. He says, speak life, think on these things, dwell on like the higher things. And, so women, speaking life into your men and for the men, like, it's our time to stand up. It's our time to stand up,
yes,
and be men. It's our time to figure out what it is that God has called you to do, which is your purpose, and then figure out where your purpose and your assignment intersect.
Yeah, so good.
And let's go and get it done.
Yeah. So where can people find you?
Yeah, I mean, you can find me I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, John Setzer. Setz as in zebra, ER, because people really struggle spelling my last name for some reason. It's not Seltzer. There's no L in it. It's just John, Jon, Setzer, Setz as in zebra, ER. And you can also find us at Setzer Elite, Speed and Agility online as well.
Sweet, man. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for coming in, being my first guest on this podcast, man. Yeah, it was exciting, man. It's an honor to be able to sit across from good friends, good fathers, good entrepreneurs, and so I appreciate you taking the time to be on this podcast, man. So,
well, and I just want to say this last thing, like Bobby, you are one of the most genuine people that I've ever met in my life. You've always kept it a buck with me, keeping it 100. For some of you that don't know, keeping it a spade. But you've always been that, and you've always been the type of person to where your humility marks you.
I appreciate
You're
that.
coachable. If there's an area in life that you're missing it, you're not afraid to ask for help, or you're not afraid to allow somebody to speak into that area. And I really respect that about you. I love you. I call him, like, when I see him, I say, hey, yo, DJ. But, he's, man, just what you do, and that energy, man, that energy is from the kingdom of heaven, I feel like.
I appreciate that.
You dance like David dance.
Yeah,
when you get out there and you're doing what you're doing with DJing and all the different things that you do. But I just want to let you know, man, like, from the bottom of my heart, I love you. I appreciate you. Like, and I'm glad that I can call you friend. I'm glad when I'm struggling, if I got something going on in my mind, I can hit you up.
Yeah,
so
I appreciate
you, dude.
Man, words of affirmation, you just filled my cup, man. As brothers, and I mean, like you said, like, I think men need to do that to men.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. Well, let's end this baby. So thank y'all so much for tuning in to the Father Built podcast, where we build up fathers in holiness, healthiness, and happiness, and we aim to give them the tools to build their house of legacy. My name is Bobby Peacock. Thank you so much for watching this episode, and I'll see you in the next one. And always remember, peace, love, blessings. We out.